The smell of pancakes hit me before I even opened my eyes. It was my 21st birthday, and for the first time in years, my adoptive mom Ellen was cooking. Not just toast or cereal, actual pancakes, golden and steaming on the counter. I stood in the kitchen doorway, still in my oversized sweatshirt, watching her flip them with a precision that felt off. Ellen wasn't the domestic type. She was all sharp edges, pressed blouses, clipped words, never a hair out of place. So why the sudden warmth? My stomach twisted, not from hunger, but from instinct. Something wasn't right. Hey, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to stay updated on all our latest stories. Your support means the world. If you're finding this video valuable, please give it a thumbs up. I'd also love to connect with you. Drop your city in the comments below. I'm curious where everyone's tuning in from. Now, let's dive into the story. I forced a smile as Ellen slid a plate toward me. "Happy birthday, Scarlett," she said, her voice tight like she was reading a script. My adoptive dad, Robert, sat at the table, scrolling his phone, not looking up. Normally, birthdays were low-key in our house. Maybe a gift card if I was lucky. This felt staged, like they were setting up for something bigger than candles. I ate slowly, the syrup sticking in my throat, waiting for the other shoe to drop. It didn't take long. Around noon, Robert called me into the living room. The air felt heavy, like the moment before a storm. Ellen sat on the couch, hands folded too neatly in her lap. Robert stood by the window, his back to me, staring out at the perfectly trimmed lawn. I sank into the armchair, my bare feet cold against the hardwood. "Scarlett," Robert started, his voice low like he was about to fire someone. "We need to talk." I nodded, keeping my face neutral. I learned years ago not to let them see me flinch. Ellen took a breath, her eyes flicking to Robert before settling on me. "You're adopted," she said, blunt as a hammer. "We took you in when you were 3. Your biological mother, she couldn't handle raising you. She was unstable." Her words landed like stones, each one sinking deeper. Robert turned, finally meeting my eyes. "We gave you a home, a life. But you're 21 now. It's time to stand on your own." I blinked, my pulse loud in my ears. Adopted. Unstable. On my own. The room seemed to tilt, but I kept my hands steady, gripping the armrests. Ellen reached under the couch and pulled out a backpack, black, scuffed, like it had been waiting for this moment. "There's cash in there," she said. "Some clothes. A bus ticket to a motel downtown. You'll figure things out." Her tone was final, like she was checking me off a list. They were kicking me out. On my birthday. I should have screamed, cried, demanded answers. But I didn't. I stood, slow and deliberate, and took the backpack. Its weight felt wrong, too light for everything it was supposed to mean. "Thank you," I said, my voice calm, almost polite. Ellen's mouth twitched, maybe relief, maybe guilt. Robert just nodded, already turning back to the window. They didn't see my knuckles whiten around the strap. They didn't catch the spark in my eyes, the one that had been burning for weeks. Because what they didn't know, what they couldn't have guessed, was that I'd already found the truth. A month ago, I'd been rummaging in the attic for old photo albums, something to make a scrapbook for today. Instead, I found a locked box tucked behind Christmas decorations. I pried it open with a screwdriver, expecting tax forms or junk. But there, beneath a stack of yellowed receipts, was an envelope. Sealed, addressed to a woman I'd never heard of, Clara Monroe. Inside was my birth certificate. My name, Scarlett, clear as day, with Clara listed as my mother. No father. And a folded note, handwritten, ink smudged like it had been touched too many times. "They can't know you're still alive." I'd sat there in the attic, heart hammering, reading it over and over. Clara Monroe. Alive. They. The words carved themselves into me, questions piling up like storm clouds. I hadn't told anyone, hadn't known who to trust. Now, standing in the living room with Ellen and Robert watching me like I was a problem solved, I felt it, a shift, a purpose. I wasn't just leaving. I was starting something. As I stepped toward the front door, backpack slung over one shoulder, I heard Ellen's voice, low, meant for Robert. "Do you think she suspects anything?" My back was to them, so they didn't see my pause, the way my breath caught. I kept walking, letting the door click shut behind me. Suspect? Oh, I more than suspected. I knew. And I wasn't going to let them bury it, or me. The motel smelled like damp carpet and regret. I dropped my backpack on the sagging bed, the springs creaking under its weight. The neon sign outside buzzed, casting a sickly red glow through the blinds. I didn't unpack, not yet. Instead, I pulled out the envelope, my fingers tracing the edges of the birth certificate and that cryptic note. They can't know you're still alive. Clara Monroe. My mother. The name felt like a key, but to what, I wasn't sure. I needed answers, and this room, with its peeling wallpaper and flickering lamp, was where I'd start. The motel had a computer in the lobby, an ancient thing that wheezed to life after 3 tries. I hunched over the keyboard. The screen's glare harsh against my eyes. Clara Monroe. I typed her name, half expecting nothing. But there it was, an article buried in a local newspaper's digital archive, dated over a decade ago. Therapist Clara Monroe discredited after alleging misconduct at Crestwood Women's Clinic. My pulse quickened. I clicked, scanning the text. Clara had accused a Dr. Victor Langston of unethical practices, something about manipulating vulnerable patients. The article was short, dismissive. A week later, Clara was committed to Pine Hollow Behavioral Institute, labeled unstable. No follow-up. No investigation. Just silence. I leaned back, the chair creaking. Langston. The name tugged at a memory. I'd seen it before, on letters at home, glossy brochures tucked in Robert's desk. The Langston Community Trust. He'd called it charity work, brushing it off whenever I asked. But now it didn't feel like a coincidence. My adoptive father, tied to the man who'd destroyed my mother's life? I scribbled the details in a notebook I'd bought for $1 at a gas station, my handwriting shaky but deliberate. Clara. Langston. Pine Hollow. Each word felt heavier than the last. I kept digging, chasing links down rabbit holes. Most were dead ends, broken websites, paywalled records. But then I found it, a Reddit thread buried in a true crime subreddit, titled, "What Happened at Pine Hollow?" The original post was vague, just someone asking about a shuttered facility in the area. But the comments, those were alive. Users swapped rumors, patients transferred in the dead of night, files destroyed, whispers of experiments. One comment stopped me cold. "Anyone hear about Emily Tate?" It read. She was asking questions about some therapist who got locked up there. Then poof, she's gone. No trace. Emily Tate. A name I didn't know, but it felt like a warning. My throat went dry. I clicked the user's profile, but it was deleted, the account wiped. I copied the comment anyway, adding it to my notebook. Emily Tate had been looking into Clara, or someone like her, and now she was missing. I wasn't naive, I knew what that meant. People don't just vanish for asking questions. Not unless someone wants them gone. I glanced at the motel's front desk, where the clerk was dozing, a TV droning in the background. The world felt too quiet, too still. I needed more than a screen. The library downtown was my next stop, but I couldn't shake the feeling of eyes on me as I stepped outside. A car idled across the street, its headlights dim but steady. I froze, my breath catching. It was just a sedan, nothing special, but it didn't move. I forced myself to walk, keeping my pace even, my backpack slung tight over one shoulder. When I glanced back, the car pulled away, tires crunching on gravel. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe I was paranoid. But Clara's note burned in my mind. They can't know. The library was a haven, all soft light and hushed voices. I found a corner computer, away from the windows, and dove into the newspaper archives again. I needed proof, something solid. Crestwood Women's Clinic was long gone, but Langston's Trust was still active, its website polished with photos of smiling women and buzzwords like empowerment and healing. It made my skin crawl. I cross-checked Robert's name. Nothing direct, but a donor list from 5 years back had his initials. RT. A small thread, but enough to pull. As I logged off, my hands were steady, but my heart wasn't. Emily Tate's name echoed in my head, a ghost I couldn't ignore. Clara was out there, maybe alive, maybe waiting. And someone, Langston, Robert, or worse, didn't want me to find her. I stepped into the dusk, the air sharp against my cheeks. The library's glow faded behind me, and I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't stopping. Not now. Not ever. The diner's grease clung to my skin, no matter how much I scrubbed. For 5 days, I'd been washing dishes, mopping floors, and dodging the cook's bad jokes, all for a handful of crumpled bills. My back ached. My hands cracked from the scalding water, but I didn't care. Every shift brought me closer to a bus ticket, 3 hours north to Crestview Haven, where Pine Hollow's patients had been sent. Clara was there. I could feel it, like a pulse beneath my skin. I tucked my latest tips into my sock, $23 in ones and fives, and kept my head down. The clock read 4 a.m. when I slipped out, the world still dark and quiet. The bus station smelled like diesel and desperation. I bought my ticket with exact change, counting each coin twice, and climbed aboard. The seats were worn, the air stale, but I didn't mind. I clutched my backpack, the envelope safe inside, and stared out the window as the city gave way to empty fields and frost-tipped trees. Crestview Haven was my only lead, and I wasn't sure what I'd find, or if I'd even be let in. But I had to try. For Clara. For the truth. Crestview sat at the edge of a hill, half hidden by pines, its faded sign barely legible. It didn't look like a hospital, more like a place where secrets went to die. I stepped off the bus, my sneakers crunching on gravel, and walked up the path. The air was sharp, cutting through my thin jacket. Inside, the lobby was sterile, all white tiles and humming fluorescents. A receptionist, middle-aged with a tight bun, glanced up from her clipboard. "Can I help you?" Her voice was flat, her eyes suspicious. "I'm here to see Clara Monroe," I said, steadying my breath. "I'm a cousin." The lie felt clumsy, but I pushed on. "I heard she was here." The woman's pen paused, hovering over her papers. She studied me, lips pressed thin. "Clara doesn't get visitors," she said, slow, like she was testing me. I held her gaze, my heart pounding. "I know. That's why I came." A long silence stretched between us. Then she sighed, scribbling something down. 5 minutes. Down the hall, room 12. Don't upset her. The hallway was endless, each door identical, each step heavier than the last. Room 12's door was cracked open, a sliver of daylight spilling out. I pushed it gently, my throat tight. Clara sat by a window, her frame small, her hair gray and thin. Her hands rested in her lap, folded like she was waiting for something that never came. She didn't look up as I entered. "Clara?" My voice trembled, softer than I meant it to be. Her eyes flicked to mine, sharp and searching, like she saw straight through me. "I'm Scarlett," I said, stepping closer. "Your daughter." The word felt foreign, heavy. Her face changed. Something cracked, a flicker of pain or recognition. She glanced at the ceiling, her voice barely a whisper. "They're still listening." My skin prickled. I followed her gaze. Nothing but cracked plaster, no cameras I could see. But her fear was real, and it rooted me in place. "Who's they?" I asked, kneeling beside her. "Clara, what happened to you?" Her lips parted, then closed, like she was weighing every word. "Crestwood," she murmured. "They called it therapy. Drugs. Questions that twisted your mind. Langston's people. They took everything." Her hands clenched, nails digging into her palms. "You weren't supposed to be with him. Robert. He wasn't cleared. They picked him to keep you close, to watch you." Her words hit like a slap. Robert. Chosen, not to save me, but to control me. My chest tightened, the air too thin. "Why?" I pressed, my voice sharper now. "What were they hiding?" Clara's eyes darted to the door, then back to me. "Women like me," she said, so quiet I strained to hear. "Ones who talked. They tested us, broke us. If you're here, they'll know soon." Before I could answer, the door swung open. A nurse stood there, her smile too tight. "Time's up," she said, clipboard in hand. I stood, my legs unsteady, but Clara's hand grazed mine, cold and fleeting. Be careful, she whispered. I walked out, the nurse's steps echoing behind me. In the lobby, she leaned close, her voice low. You're not the first to ask about her. The last one didn't come back. My blood went cold. Emily Tate, she had to mean Emily. I nodded, forcing my face blank, and stepped into the chill outside. The hill loomed above me, Crestview's shadow long and dark. Clara wasn't just a patient. She was a prisoner. And I was running out of time to set her free. Back at the motel, the air felt thicker, like the walls were closing in. I locked the door, checked it twice, and shoved a chair under the knob for good measure. Clara's words echoed in my head. Robert chosen to watch me, Crestwood's experiments, Langston's shadow over it all. My backpack sat on the bed, the envelope still inside, but it wasn't enough. A name, a note, a whispered warning. They were pieces, not proof. I needed something solid, something no one could bury. The motel's Wi-Fi was spotty, but I grabbed my notebook and powered up the ancient laptop I'd borrowed from the diner's Lost and Found. Time to dig deeper. I started with the Langston Community Trust. Their website was a glossy lie, smiling faces, promises of healing for women in crisis. But tax records told a different story. I found a public filing from 8 years back, buried in a nonprofit database. Robert's name wasn't listed outright, but there it was, R. Thompson, board member, signing off on a $2 million research grant. My stomach twisted. Research. The same word Clara had spit like poison. I kept searching, chasing threads through old news clips and donor lists. Then I saw it, a leaked memo, posted on an obscure whistleblower forum, mentioning patient CM as a security risk. CM Clara Monroe. Another line referenced an E. Tate, handled. Emily Tate. My hands froze on the keys. They hadn't just silenced Clara. They'd erased Emily, too. I needed more than digital scraps. The Reddit thread about Pine Hollow had mentioned a nurse, someone who'd worked there before it became Crestview. I scoured the forum, cross-referencing names until I found her, Margaret Cole, retired, still local. A long shot, but I sent her a message through a throwaway email, careful with my words. I'm looking into Clara Monroe. I know what happened at Pine Hollow. Can you help? I didn't expect a reply, but I couldn't sit still. I paced the room, the carpet rough under my feet, until my inbox pinged at 2 a.m. Meet me tomorrow, 6 p.m. Riverside Park. North Bench. Come alone. The park was deserted when I got there, the sun dipping low, painting the river gold. Margaret was already waiting, her gray hair pulled back, her eyes scanning the trees like she expected trouble. She didn't stand when I approached, just nodded to the bench. You're the one asking about Clara, she said, voice low, worn. I sat, my backpack between us. I'm her daughter, I said. I need the truth. She studied me, then pulled a USB drive from her coat pocket, small and scratched. This is all I kept, she said. Patient logs. A video. Clara's words, before they locked her away for good. You want it, it's yours. But it's dangerous. I took the drive, my fingers trembling. What's on it? I asked. Margaret's jaw tightened. Proof, she said. Crestwood wasn't a clinic. It was a lab. Drugs, isolation, things they called therapy. Clara fought back, wrote it all down. That's why they broke her. She paused, her eyes distant. Another girl came asking years ago. Emily Tate. I gave her copies too. She was close, too close. Then she was gone. My breath caught. Gone how? Margaret shook her head. Just gone. No body, no trace. They're good at that. I gripped the drive, its edges sharp against my palm. I won't let them win, I said, my voice fiercer than I felt. Margaret didn't smile. Then be smarter than she was, she said, standing. And don't come looking for me again. She walked away, her steps quick, swallowed by the dusk. I sat there, the river's murmur the only sound, until the cold forced me back to the motel. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. At midnight, I plugged the drive into the laptop. The video loaded slowly, grainy footage of Clara, younger, her eyes defiant. She spoke fast, like she knew time was short. They're testing us, she said, voice steady. No consent. Drugs that make you forget who you are. Langston's signing the orders. The clip cut off abruptly, stamped confidential. My chest burned. Proof, just like Margaret said. But when I went to my room the next morning, the door was ajar. My heart stopped. The chair was on its side, my notebook gone, clothes strewn across the floor. I checked the backpack, the envelope was still there, but my laptop was untouched, too obvious to take. Then I saw it, a folded note slipped under the pillow. Stop digging, or you'll end up like her. No signature, just block letters, sharp and final. I backed against the wall, my pulse deafening. They knew. Whoever they were, they'd been here. I grabbed the USB drive and the envelope, shoving them into my jacket. I wasn't stopping, not now, not ever. But I needed help. I thought of Hannah Reid, a journalist I'd seen on a podcast, exposing corporate lies. I found her email on a cached blog and typed fast. I have evidence against the Langston Trust. Clara Monroe's story. Emily Tate's too. I need you. I hit send, my hands shaking, and waited. The motel felt like a trap now, every creak a threat. But I wasn't running. I was fighting. The cabin smelled of pine and old coffee, its walls lined with books and yellowed papers. Hannah Reid sat across from me, her laptop open, the USB drive plugged in. Her eyes were sharp, scanning the files. Clara's video, patient logs, memos with Robert's initials. This is real, she said, voice low, like she was afraid the room might hear. Langston's Trust, Crestwood, all of it. They've been untouchable for years. I leaned forward, my hands clasped tight to stop the trembling. Not anymore, I said. We make this too big to hide. Hannah nodded, her jaw set. Then we move fast. And we don't miss. She worked like a machine, copying the drive onto encrypted servers, drafting a report that tied every thread together. Clara's accusations, Emily Tate's disappearance, Robert's role. I watched. My stomach knotted, knowing what this meant. No going back. That night, my phone buzzed. Robert's name lit up the screen, his voice smooth when I answered, like nothing had changed. Scarlett, come home, he said. We can sort this out. You're upset. I get it. My grip tightened. He didn't know about the drive, the proof. But he knew I was digging. Let's talk, I said, keeping my voice even. Tomorrow. The cafe on 5th. Noon. Hannah's eyes narrowed when I told her. Don't go, she said, pausing her typing. He's desperate. But I had to. Not for him, for me. I needed to see his face when he realized he'd lost. The cafe was busy. Voices overlapping, cameras on the walls. Safe enough. Robert sat at a corner table, his beige coat folded neatly, his smile practiced. You've grown up so fast, he started, like we were catching up. I cut him off, my voice cold. Don't. You knew what they did to Clara. You kept me to control her. His smile faltered, just for a second. I protected you, he said, leaning closer. You don't understand the stakes. I understand enough, I snapped, my eyes locked on his. You stole my life. Hers too. He leaned back, his fingers tapping the table. If you push this, people get hurt. Clara. You. I stood, my chair scraping loud. It's already done, I said, soft but final. Check the news tomorrow. His face changed, the calm peeling away, showing something raw underneath. I walked out, my heart pounding, the city's noise swallowing his silence. Hannah had planned it perfectly. By dawn, the files were sent. 6 encrypted copies to prosecutors, activists, a podcaster with a cult following. Passwords went out over secure calls. This is how you kill a giant, Hannah said, hitting send on the final email. No shadows left to hide in. I'd barely slept, my mind racing, but when I woke, my phone was buzzing. A podcast had dropped first. Clara's voice, raw and clear, naming Langston, describing the drugs, the locked rooms. Then the articles hit, one after another. Leaked memos, patient logs, Emily Tate's name trending as a warning. By noon, Clara's video was everywhere, her eyes hollow but unbroken. People listened. People cared. 2 days later, the Attorney General's office announced an investigation. Subpoenas flew. Langston's Trust, Robert, 3 others named in a lawsuit from former patients' families. I scrolled the headlines in Hannah's cabin, my chest tight with something like relief, but heavier. Then Hannah got a call. She listened, her face unreadable, then turned to me. "Emily Tate," she said. "She's alive. Living under a new name in Montana. Scared, but safe." My breath caught. Emily alive. I flew out the next day, meeting her in a small diner, her hair dyed dark, her hands nervous around a coffee mug. We talked for hours, not about the pain, but the fight. "We're not done," she said, her smile fierce. I nodded. Never. I couldn't stay away from Crestview. Clara was still there, still trapped. Hannah pulled strings, a lawyer friend, a judge's order. We drove up that hill at dusk, the pines whispering in the wind. The staff didn't fight. The leaks had left them rattled, some already gone. Margaret met us at the door, her face softer now, handing me a clipboard. "She's ready," she said. "But go quick." I found Clara by the window, same chair, same folded hands. "Mom," I whispered, kneeling. Her eyes met mine, clearer now, a spark where shadows used to be. "We're leaving." She stood, slow, her hand finding mine. "You found me," she said, voice breaking. "You gave me back my voice." I hugged her, tears hot on my cheeks. "Always," I said. We walked out. No alarms, just the sky turning gold, the air sharp and free. The weeks blurred after. Lawyers, doctors. Clara's first steps into a world that had forgotten her. Robert's indictment came quietly, a headline among many. The trial loomed, but Clara smiled now sometimes. So did I. We weren't whole, not yet. But we were together. And that was enough to start.